right, how are you all doing today? I'm just gonna dive in. So I got my money back on the Burrows, and they had the Rejuven8 Slides on sale for like 50 bucks. So I went ahead and picked them up like I said I would. So we can do an updated review / comparison to the DMX. We'll do a Rejuven8 DMX comparison. We can look at both the slides and the mules / shoes. So I was informed a while back that the newer Rejuven8s are a little softer. So we grabbed the orange. That's kind of a pumpkin. Bit of a pumpkin outsole. That's a lot lighter than I thought it was going to be. I was expecting it to be like a little more akin to the shoes, but it's a shade lighter. At least the top is. You can see they're close, but it's a shade lighter. And then it's a little more red with the shoes. So they are not identical. I like the shoe orange a little bit better. I feel like this is a little more of like an ochre, a little more brownish instead of having the red. I like the red better. Anyways, just something I immediately noticed. Right off the bat, I guess we can do an old versus new comparison. I will compare these to the older slides and see if I can notice any difference between the new foam versus the old foam. And then I kind of wanted to do like a fresh review on them, because when I initially reviewed the Rejuven8s, I was very jaded because of the hype that was around their release, and I was just disappointed in them. So I didn't have like a positive impression. I guess they didn't meet my expectations. So having kind of been let down because of like the hype, and also them not feeling as good as I thought they were going to be. Like it kind of influenced my review of them. Not entirely, but I haven't really been, whenever I think of these slides, I don't do so like positively. It's not done in a positive fashion. I'm not like, oh, those slides are great. It's like, oh, these are way overrated. It's my impression of them. They're way overrated, and these are dirty. Someone must have got these and returned them. I don't know if you can see that. There's a little dirt right there. Gross, 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 gross. Let me try to clean this real quick. Un momento. Alright, that's like in the foam. I can't get those little specks out. So whatever. Alright, I don't think there's a whole lot to look at in hand that we haven't already accomplished looking at the other ones, other than the size changed. So they not only did they change the size of the shoes, but they also changed the size of the slides. I'm glad I went with the 12s. But just putting these heel to heel, they look like they're just like a ½ inch shorter. So we'll find out. Let's throw them on foot and see if there's a difference too. Alright, let me get a baseline. Oh, I got wool socks on too. Okay. So, one of the things I didn't really care for about these slides is the arch. So, it's a little contrived. It's not very ergonomic to my foot. It feels a little I don't know if obtruse is the right word, but I'm getting like this lump, like right underneath my forefoot. Kind of right in the center of the foot. Like right here. I'm getting a little lump right here from the arch. And it just feels like it's too far forward for my foot. But after having these on for a period of time, it subsides and it softens up, and then they fit a little bit better. But like the footbed of these, like after that little lump, after that little rise, this footbed's very two-dimensional. We've got one level for the forefoot, it's flat. And then it slopes up a little bit, right underneath the forefoot there where I pointed out, where I'm getting that pressure on the arch. It's like right under here. It slopes up, and then we just have a flat surface after that. Not very exciting, kind of very blah, very minimal. That's why I was disappointed in these. And then on top of that, the foam is it's not like hard, but it's firmer than the shoes. And between the kind of the lazy footbed, the lack of ergos, and the firmer foam, I wasn't a fan of these. They're not poorly made, they just lack a premium footbed to them. And when you're paying, $60, $70 for a slide, they gotta be better than this. And that's why I was so critical of these. All right, so now that baseline is established, let's try on these new ones. Let's try on these oranges. So I never wear these. I don't wear these. They're still pretty clean. I think I've worn them out. I don't even know if I've worn them out, honestly. I don't know if I've ever worn those out of the apartment. I couldn't tell you. All right, so sliding in, the sizing looks good. I need to clean this carpet. The sizing looks relative. I'll put them on next to each other. And you can see kind of chasing dirt all through this video. Everything looks pretty relative as far as the sizing goes. Let me square up. So the strap is pretty relative. If anything, the strap fits a little tighter on these oranges. I've got a little more space, you can see, with these cactus, whatever color they were. So they've kind of cleaned up the strap a little bit. The footbed feels relative. It might be ever so slightly smaller. No, it looks relative. The footbed looks relative. And maybe they are a little more narrow. It just looks like I've got a little more space kind of on the side of my foot right here on this one than I do on this one. So I think they have tweaked the sizing just a little bit. I know the strap's a little different, and I want to say it's a little more narrow. It's not as wide as the older ones. Okay, so I don't know. It's really close. I don't really feel much difference. They do feel slightly softer, but the sizing is a little different. They've shrunken these about a ½ inch in the width, I would say. And the strap is a little tighter fitting too. You can see there's a little more of a shadow. This is a little tighter. These are fitting more like the 11s. Yeah, I would say the strap on these 11s are more relative to the strap on the 12s now. So they've tightened down the strap some. And honestly, these look more relative in their fit and their sizing to these oranges than the... Nope, they're still, you can see the toe length. They're not as short as the 11s, but I do believe that they are a little more narrow. than like the 12s. You know, I think they've shrunken the fit on the strap, and they've shrunken the width down a little bit on these 12s. But I don't know. The foam is so close, I can't really tell much of a difference. If there is any, I can't really tell. So I don't know if they went softer on the foam or not. Let me do a little walking with them on side by side, and that might give me a better impression on whether or not the foam feels any softer. Because I can't tell. Having one on each foot, I can't really tell. I can tell that the strap is fitting tighter on the one on my right foot than the one on my left foot. But as far as softness of the foam, I cannot tell. So the Dusty Cactus, they do feel slightly denser, but it's such a minimal difference. Like, it might just be a placebo effect, you know? Like, I might just be assigning them a softer experience in my mind, even though they're so identical, they're so close. They do feel slightly denser to where it's not compressing as much, but they're so close. Like, it could just be a placebo effect, or it could just be the fact that they slightly tweaked the sizing so that there's not as much foam underneath my foot, because they're a little narrower in the oranges than they are in the blues. So I think the foam is the same. I'm just getting a slight variation in compression underfoot due to the fact that they've tweaked the sizing ever so slightly. So since the footbed isn't as wide in these oranges as they are in the blues, my weight distribution is different. So it's being dispersed more. You know, it's like the concept of thin ice. If you're on ice, you're supposed to lay down to spread your body weight out, you know, over a larger area. It's kind of a similar concept. Since the footbed on these Dusty Cactuses are slightly wider, it's distributing my weight among a larger kind of area. There's a little more material underneath there. It's not identical to that concept, but there's a little more material underneath my foot to distribute my weight across the footbed, having it being a little wider than with them being slightly narrower. The mass of my body weight is compressing under a slightly smaller bed of foam in the oranges, with them being ever so slightly smaller since they've resized them. It's kind of relative to the shoes between the Rejuven8 Midnight Navy and those Team Orange ones that I have. Those are slightly adjusted in their sizing. It's the same thing with the slides. They didn't change the foam. All they did was they tweaked the sizing a little bit, and that's what's creating a different experience on foot. Because one thing that I've established in my videos is that sizing can completely change the experience of a particular slide when it comes to these foam footwear. A slide or a mule, the sizing can completely change the experience underfoot, because you're tweaking with the amount of material and stuff, you know, and just the way that they fit. So that's what's happening here. They've tweaked the size ever so slightly in the slides, so there's a slight difference in experience underfoot. But other than that, the foam is the same. They haven't changed the foam at all. So these are still kind of the boring footbed that I critiqued 6, 7, 8 months ago when these first came out. It's still the flat, boring footbed, the relatively firm foam. These are just kind of a blah. They're kind of mid. And that's, you know, it goes back to my initial review of these. Just given the hype that surrounded these, like, You know, like not worth it. Not worth the Nike hype. And that was my main criticism of these. They did not live up to my expectations. They did not live up to the hype. So, same exact experience, just with a tweaked size, a tweaked sizing. So, all right, let's move on to the second half of this video and do a comparison between the DMX slides and mules and the Rejuven8 slides and shoes. So let me clip this real quick and get all of that stuff situated. All right, I do admit I like this orange better than the other colors that I got. So I might keep these. I don't know. I don't know. I should send them back. I've already got a pair. We'll see. I'll think about it. It's just, I don't know. I'm not going to wear them, so I don't know why I would keep them. Other than the fact that they're orange, and I kind of like that they're orange. So I'll see. We'll think about it. So all right, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on these. We'll try to make quick work of this video and kind of burn through them. So at a glance, I think the Rejuven8s look better. I don't like the look of these. I don't like this line work. I gave a kind of a funny analogy in the initial review on the mules. So refer to that if you want. My real feelings on the aesthetics of these. I don't like how these look. So at a glance, the Rejuven8s look better. But look how similar they are. That's crazy. I didn't know they looked so similar. It's like Nike kind of just grabbed the silhouette. Wow. And just made it smooth on top. So that's one thing that, well, they can't do it now because Nike already did it. I think they need to copy the style that they established on the new mules. But these are almost a direct copy. So sorry, Reebok. I think Nike stole your design. The footbed is different though. As boring as the footbed is on these, they have a better footbed. Just because these are too... Well, they don't fit me. These are a half size off. So the ergos that are established on these mules don't line up with the ergos of my foot, which is why I don't wear them. But these have this dynamic air cushioning on the outsole, which is superior to the comfort being created with the Rejuven8s. So even though these have a better footbed, these have a better like rubber outsole to them. So we can look at the outsoles real quick. You can see Nike has just kind of added this rubber layer. It just kind of sticks on, and that's that. And you've got a rubber outsole on a foam slide. So Reebok has this dynamic air cushioning happening with the DMX slide. You can see this checkered pattern like underneath here, these little squares, and then there's lines in between the squares. Those are cuts taken out of the foam midsole, and there's air between like all those little checkers and those lines and stuff. So as you step down and compress the footwear, you're transferring air back and forth from toe to heel. They claim within their dynamic air cushioning, and it creates a lot softer of a experience underfoot because not only do you have a softer foam, the DMX foam is softer than the React X foam, but you also have this air pocket underneath the entire length of the footbed, which is, I think, better than what Nike's doing with their Rejuven8s. But just going back to the footbed, like I mentioned, the Nikes have a better footbed. I think they're a little more comfortable as far as just like initial impressions, but with the softness, like DMX are softer, but they've got a funky footbed. So I don't know, at that point you kind of got to weigh your options. I don't like either one. I don't wear either one. All right, so we can do kind of a similar thing that we just did. I will put one on each foot and kind of give impressions. Alright, so these are already semi-warm, but they're still like a mid-firm compression. Alright, where these DMXs are softer, but the ergos are off. They don't line up with my feet. So it's like neither one is fantastic for me. The Nikes sit a little higher. Here, let me turn around so I don't have the shadow. Alright, the Nikes stand a little higher, maybe a ½ inch, ¼ inch. I feel I'm a little taller, but it might just be because the DMX are compressing a little more. I think there is a difference in the footbed, in the midsole, and the thickness of it, but there is more compression with the DMX underfoot. These are 11s. I don't know if the 12s would fit my foot better. They did not with the Mules. The 12s and the Mules were too big. So where this footbed lays, like where the arch is, I need to pull my foot back to the right here. Right now the arch is lining up with my foot, but you can see the sizing issue there because my toes are right over top of the foot groove here. So I don't like the footbed on these DMXs, and I've heard other people criticize them for the same issue. It just didn't line up with their foot. So I learned with the Mules, the more you wear these, the more your foot kind of sinks into them, and then the ergos feel a little bit better, but I don't know. Between the funky footbed on these DMXs and the funky aesthetics, I just don't like them. And I never really wore them beyond the video. They're super soft, they're super squishy, so if that's what you're after, is the squishiness, if you want the softer of the two, the DMX is softer, but ooh, that was just an accident. There's accidents constantly at these lights I live near. Hang on, I want to go check. All right, everybody was all good. Okay, I think that's all I really had to say about these two. I prefer the Rejuven8 over these DMXs. I just don't like the footbed on these, and I don't like how they look. They're cheaper, and they've got a softer foam, but that footbed, I'd rather deal with the firmer foam on the Rejuven8 than the softer foam on the DMX, just because of the funky ergos on these DMX slides. Like they compress down after a bit of wear, but they're super soft. They just don't fit my feet, man. I need like a half size up. I need that arch to be different. So I prefer if I had to choose between these two, I would pay the extra money and get the Rejuven8 slide. So all right, let's move on to the shoes versus the Mules. And let's go with the Midnight Navy, because they are the newer ones. Alright, yeah, they're... Alright, so these are night and day. I don't know if I can really get a good comparison between these two, because one's a mule and one's a shoe. They fit completely differently. Again, the Mules have a lot more compression going on underfoot. They've got that kind of a funkier footbed to them, but it's not, like the arch isn't as misaligned with the Mules as they are with the slides. So I can deal with the kind of the funky footbed on the Mules because it's got that great compression to it, and the midsole is thicker on the Mules than it is the slides, so it creates and allows for a deeper compression underfoot, a deeper sinking. So then whatever oddities there are with the footbed with the ergos and the Mules, they compress away and they fit. They fit well. I like these Mules. I've been wearing them periodically. Just with them being closed toe too, they kind of work in these cooler months that we're in right now. Whereas these are out of season. These shoes, just having the wiffle ball ventilation on the top. So it's hard to compare these two, like I said, because they're not the same. One's a mule, one's a shoe. They don't really have the same like function. You can do a lot more in these shoes than you can in these mules, but in terms of like comfort and squish, the mules are softer. And these mules are more comfortable. The mules are super soft. They've got that dynamic air cushioning. They've got they've got a thicker midsole to them. Those shoes feel a lot flatter underfoot. I don't feel like I'm getting as much support with these as I do with these, just because these have the extra compression, having that dynamic air cushioning and the thicker midsole to them, where these just kind of they feel a little like a flat tire, honestly, compared to these. And it's probably because of that air pocket. I'm getting that bounce with the air pocket, where these I'm just getting kind of a flat compression. So these honestly feel like a flat tire compared to these DMXs. That's interesting. Interesting. I guess I didn't really notice how bouncy that air pocket is, so that's kind of cool. I don't know. If I had to pick, just for like lounging, I would probably pick the DMX over these shoes. But if I was gonna be walking a lot more, I would probably want the shoes. So I think it all depends on your intent of use. So here, we can walk a little in these. Let's just go straight down. Alright, so I think the comparison is more between the slides than it is the shoes and the mules. Yeah, because one's nice and bouncy and squishy, and the other one, these feel like hard in comparison. They feel like a flat tire. Yeah, I've got a limp going on. So I kind of like these mules over the shoes if I were to get one or the other. And like, if you didn't need a shoe, if you're just like, hey, should I get these Rejuven8 shoes or should I get these DMX mules? I think you might like the mules a little bit better. They're a little bouncy, a little more bouncy, a little more squishy. These cradle your foot pretty well. They've got like a nice heel cup to it and a nice little arch bump to it. But these just are bouncy. These just have a lot of squish going on, a lot more softness to them. So I don't know, maybe, but I like these Rejuven8 shoes, but I don't know, I don't wear them either. Every now and then I'll wear them, so I don't know, like all of these, I would, like between the slides, both slides and both shoes, or shoe/mule, I think these are the best, these DMX mules. They've got the compression, they've got that dynamic air cushioning, they've got the softer foam. The footbed isn't as funky, or it is, but it has more compression to it with a thicker midsole, so it's not as noticeable. It kind of compresses away, your foot sinks into the footbed. So these are the winners. The DMX mules are the winners. They triumph over the rest. But if you're just looking at the slides, the Rejuven8 slides. And the foam is the same between the new ones and the old ones. They've just tweaked the sizing. So if you didn't like the foam before, you're not going to like the foam again. So I don't know. I'll sleep on it whether or not I want to keep these slides. I will probably send them back because I know I'm not going to wear them, and I've already got the other Rejuven8s to fulfill whatever future footwear videos I need. For the appearance of the Rejuven8 slides, I can do it with the Dusty Cactus. I really don't need to keep these oranges, even though I like them better. They look a little bit better. Unless I wanted to be like Twinkies with my Rejuven8 orange shoes and the Rejuven8 slides, but they're not even the same orange, bro. Not even the same orange. So I'll probably send it back and get my 50 bucks back. All right, we can wrap this up. All right, let's wrap this up. Oh, all right, so final thoughts. The new Rejuven8 slides are the same as the old Rejuven8 slides in terms of the foam. The only thing that has changed is the sizing. They have shrunken the slides about like half of a size, akin to their size alterations of the shoe. If you got a slide upon release, or I mean, if you got the Rejuven8 shoes upon release versus currently, you'll notice that the sizing is slightly different. Same thing with the slides. The sizing is slightly different. The foam is the same though. They haven't changed the foam in these. They haven't changed the footbed in these. These are still as lackluster as they were when I first tried them. They're not a bad slide. There are just better options on the market. So, but between these and the DMX slides, I recommend the Rejuven8 slides. They're just a little bit better. They're still, like I said, I'll probably send those oranges back. I'm not going to wear them. I don't wear the two that I already own. So they're not doing enough different with those versus the other ones for me to keep them. So I'll send those back, but those are better than the DMX slides, but I like the DMX mules over the Rejuven8 shoes. The Rejuven8 shoes aren't bad. The DMX mules are just better. They just have a thicker midsole, softer foam. That dynamic air cushioning is really nice. A lot more compression underfoot, and that bounce. Like those, like I said, those make the shoes feel like a flat tire. Something about that dynamic air cushioning is pretty sweet. I'm digging it. I think of the 4 that I tried on here, I think those mules are the best out of all of them. So that's all I really have to say about these. Yeah, that's all I really have to say about them. So they're doing some things relative between the slides, but those mules and the shoes are completely different. So, but yeah, I don't have anything else to say. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Leave your thoughts and comments below on any of these. If you have any requests, let me know. I will try to fulfill them. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, take care. We'll see you.